common question when people are learning about cognitive psychology is how our functions interact with the functions of another person. So, how does my thinking interact with someone else's thinking? Or how does my intuition interact with someone else's intuition? How do they benefit each other? And I'm going to demonstrate both visually and with an example how one person's cognitive function can interact with the cognitive function of another person. So basically how they interact in the context of a human relationship and a human conversation. We're going to be using introverted intuition, NI, and extroverted intuition, NE, to demonstrate this. In the future, I will add videos with other cognitive functions and how they interact and give examples. But for now, we're just going to take a look at introverted intuition and extroverted intuition, and let's get started. Intuition is all about the realm of what's possible, or what could be, or what's expected, or what we want. It's all about kind of the abstract and almost like the metaphysical of what could be, what potential is there. And a good way to visualize introverted intuition, and I apologize, I stole this from someone else, but I don't really recall who I stole it from, but it's just such a good example that I'm using it. Sorry, not sorry. So a good way to visualize introverted intuition is like a sniper rifle. If you're looking through the magnifying scope on a rifle, you can see a lot of things far off in the distance. But if someone were to wave a hand 6 inches in front of you, but it's not in front of the scope, it wouldn't even be noticed. It's a blind spot. In the real world, you can see NI in people like Elon Musk. They see something very far off in the distance, and that's what they're quote unquote shooting for, right? We don't need to populate Mars anytime soon in our lifetimes. But Elon Musk thinks, hey, one day we're going to need to populate Mars, so that's what he's looking at and that's what he's going for. So that's introverted intuition. Now let's look at extroverted intuition, or NE. Extroverted intuition is much more like a shotgun. Anything within kind of the frontal cone of its barrel is seen and identified and can be, you kind of blast it out there and kind of see what hits. But it doesn't have the distance of a sniper rifle. They see much wider possibilities, but in a much shorter distance. And a good example of this would be a guy named Gary Vaynerchuk. He's a big marketing guy. He's all over social media. And his big thing is aim at the hip and start. Like, he'll give a lot of advice for like LinkedIn and YouTube and Instagram. And he's not so focused on what's the long-term goal. His big thing is look at what options are in front of you, pick one and start. And if you've ever met someone with high extroverted intuition in your personal life, that's kind of how they operate. They're the ones where you ask, hey, you know what sounds fun? This. And they'll be like, okay, yeah, let's do that. Without necessarily considering or like really processing what the long-term, like far off result could be. And so now we have our two intuition functions. We have extroverted intuition and introverted intuition. How do they work together? Well, I mean, in a literal sense, the introverted intuition can cover all the bases far off in the distance, and the extroverted intuitive, they can basically guard what's nearby. They can look out for what's coming up close. But in that example, it's standing there with it, just pointing it in a direction. And obviously we know that's not how life is. We move forward, we step back, and we go in all directions. So let's bring it back down to the real world. Let's look at planning a vacation. So you'd have the NE user sitting there going, ooh, we could go to Asia and Europe and South America. And the introverted intuition user that they're talking to can go, oh, well, if we go to Europe, we can hit up Germany, Poland, Portugal. If we go to Asia, we can hit up China and Taiwan. And the NE user can then come back and basically go wider again. They can go, ooh, yeah, Europe. You know, we could also hit up Norway and Denmark and Switzerland. And this is a great example of how introverted intuition and extroverted intuition work together. It's a constant expansion and contraction of ideas. Ooh, I see all these possibilities wide. And NI kind of picks one and goes, ooh, look where this possibility could go. And then as you're going down that road, the extroverted intuition has those new sort of possibilities that they can latch onto and make wider. So it keeps them in balance. And this can keep going and keep basically expanding and contracting until they reach kind of a better decision together and a better goal to go for. And this doesn't just apply to something as inconsequential as a vacation. It can really be applied to any sort of possibility in our lives. It could be, hey, where do we want to go to eat? Hey, where should we buy a home? How should we decorate our home? How do we want to have this wedding? What sort of ideas should we, or what should we do for our son or daughter's birthday party? What should we get them for their birthday? And it's this constant expansion and contraction and compensating for the other's blind spots that really help these functions come together and give the most complete picture possible. And that's how our functions interact with each other. They all have something they're really good at and a part where they're weaker. But the advantage is there's always another cognitive function, typically in other people, that we can then bounce back and forth with to reach the best decisions, the best choices, have the best inputs. And it really helps emphasize the importance of relationships with other people. And on that note, if you have any other questions or comments about this or something else related to cognitive psychology, or even something not directly related, feel free to reach out to me. That's the whole purpose of why I'm doing this. I want people to better understand themselves. I want people to better be able to understand each other. And I want people to be able to better work with each other. Because frankly, we don't have all the skills we need on our own. We just don't. So if there's any way I can help you, please reach out.